Death is the end for most people, absolute and a final dissolution, unless they have built something during life that can survive the body's destruction. So is there a possibility of an eternal life? In this episode, Gurdjieff shares his mystical ideas on the possibility of immortality. So listen with complete presence. And if these ideas make sense to you, consider subscribing to this channel for more mystical audiobooks. Let me explain something about your actual structure. You are, or could become, a being composed of multiple bodies, each made of increasingly refined matter. The physical body you can see and touch is only the first, the coarsest, constructed from the materials of earth, the food you eat, the water you drink, the air you breathe. This body follows mechanical laws, ages predictably, eventually breaks down, and returns to the elements from which it was assembled. Beyond or within this physical form lies the possibility of developing what I call the astral body, also known as the question body. This second body is not made of physical matter. It is composed of finer substances, emotional energies that have been transformed through conscious work, materials that ordinary automatic living never produces. Think of salt dissolved in water. When conditions are right, when the solution becomes sufficiently saturated, salt crystals begin forming. They possess qualities and permanence that dissolved salt does not have. Similarly, when your being becomes saturated with certain refined substances produced through conscious effort, a second body begins crystallizing within you. This astral body, if it has formed, can survive the death of the physical organism. It is subject to different laws than physical matter, 24 laws rather than the 48 laws governing earthly existence. It dwells on what I call the planetary level of the ray of creation, having freed itself from being bound entirely to terrestrial conditions. Yet even this body is not truly immortal. It has a lifespan far exceeding the physical form, perhaps many centuries, but eventually it too will dissolve unless a third body has been developed. The third body, mental or spiritual, is even more refined, subject to only 12 laws, made of solar matter. Beyond this exists the possibility of a fourth body, the causal or divine body, subject to only 6 laws composed of starry substance. Each higher body requires increasingly conscious work to develop, increasingly refined materials that can only be produced when you participate actively in your own transformation rather than living mechanically. So what really happens to you when the physical body stops functioning? Religions have provided comfortable answers: eternal souls, guaranteed heavens, automatic immortality granted simply by being born human. These are fantasies, pleasant dreams that allow you to avoid facing a terrible truth about your actual situation. Human beings are not born with souls. You are born with the possibility of developing a soul, which is an entirely different matter. This possibility exists as potential, like an acorn contains the potential for an oak tree. Yet an acorn that never germinates, that lies on the ground and rots, never becomes a tree. Similarly, most human beings live and die without ever actualizing their potential for conscious immortality. And when their bodies cease functioning, they simply disappear like candle flames extinguished by wind. This is difficult for your culture to accept. You have been taught that consciousness is produced by the brain, that thought arises from neurons, and that what you call I is an accidental byproduct of biological processes. Or alternatively, your religions have told you that an eternal soul inhabits the body temporarily before departing to celestial realms or returning in another form. Both views misunderstand the fundamental nature of consciousness and what is required for its continuation beyond physical death. Think of yourself as a 3-story factory. The lowest level processes physical food, your abdomen and digestive system. The middle level handles air and emotional impressions, your chest and respiratory system. The highest level receives and processes impressions of all kinds, your head and nervous system. This factory operates continuously, consuming raw materials and producing various substances through chemical transformations that proceed according to cosmic laws. In ordinary human beings, this factory operates extremely inefficiently. Vast quantities of materials are consumed simply maintaining the machinery itself, keeping your heart beating, your lungs breathing, your cells dividing. Almost nothing is left over for higher production, for creating the refined substances that could be used to build the astral body. You eat, breathe, and receive impressions throughout your life, yet at death, nothing remains that can continue existing independently of the physical form. Why? Because the transformation of materials requires conscious participation. When you eat mechanically, paying no attention to your food, the digestive process extracts only the coarsest substances. When you breathe automatically, never bringing awareness to respiration, only the most basic exchange of gases occurs. When you receive impressions mechanically, sights, sounds, sensations passing through your consciousness without any self-remembering, these impressions do not transform and produce nothing that can be stored and used for building higher bodies. Imagine you sit in a beautiful garden. Sunlight filters through leaves, birds sing in branches overhead, and flowers release their fragrance into warm air. If you experience this mechanically, lost in thought, present only superficially while your mind churns through worries and plans, the impressions pass through you, producing nothing of value. The energy they contain is wasted, burned up maintaining your mechanical thinking. If instead you are present in that garden, aware that you are there, conscious of yourself as the one perceiving, practicing divided attention that embraces both the garden and your own being simultaneously, something entirely different occurs. The impressions transform at the moment of their reception. Refined substances are produced that your organism can store and later use for purposes far beyond mere survival. This is what I mean by conscious work. I had a student once who summoned the courage to ask me directly, "How does spiritual work lead to immortality?" He knew I had spoken of developing subtle bodies, yet found this teaching difficult to grasp. I gave him the example of kidney stones forming when certain minerals accumulate beyond their capacity to remain dissolved. I spoke of salt crystallizing from saturated solutions. The principle is identical with psychic substances. When your organism becomes sufficiently saturated with refined energies, produced through self-remembering, conscious suffering, intentional labor, these substances begin crystallizing into a formation that has qualities the dissolved materials did not possess. This crystallized form is the beginning of the astral body. It possesses consciousness independent of the physical brain. It can remember itself without relying on mechanical associations triggered by external stimuli. It has the capacity for genuine will rather than merely reacting to impulses and circumstances. This is the only possibility of coming to the second body. Everything else, all practices, all techniques, all methods I have taught, serve this single aim. Self-observation is not undertaken for its own sake. Divided attention is not cultivated as an interesting psychological exercise. Conscious suffering is not embraced from masochistic impulses. All of these efforts work together toward one purpose: saturating your being with materials from which higher bodies can crystallize. Without this crystallization, you have no immortality. Your thoughts, your emotions, your memories, All of these depend entirely on the physical machinery that produces them. When the brain dies, thinking ceases. When the heart stops, emotional life ends. When the nervous system shuts down, all that you call I simply vanishes. You return to the cosmic reservoirs from which you were temporarily borrowed, feeding other processes in nature's economy, but continuing nothing of individual consciousness. This is why I have insisted so strongly on actual work, on concrete effort, on daily struggle against your mechanical nature. Comfortable beliefs about guaranteed immortality are dangerous precisely because they encourage people to waste their lives, believing salvation requires nothing from them personally. You drift through decades of existence, producing nothing beyond what nature requires for maintaining your physical organism. Then you die, having accomplished nothing of lasting value. Now we arrive at what you must understand clearly, without comfort or evasion. At this very moment, you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to mechanical existence, continued until death, at which point you cease to exist as an individual consciousness. The other path requires deliberate work on yourself, daily, hourly, moment by moment, building within yourself something that can survive physical dissolution. Most people, if they truly grasped their situation, would be horrified. You spend your life accumulating possessions, achieving status, pursuing pleasures, building careers and relationships, believing these activities constitute your existence, yet all of it is written on water. When death comes, and death always comes, everything you accumulated remains behind. The only question that matters is whether you developed anything during your life that can continue existing after the body's machinery stops functioning. This teaching is ancient, though presented in ways your modern mind can perhaps digest. Mystery schools throughout history recognized this truth and developed methods for working with it. The Egyptians understood it. Their elaborate preparations for death were attempts to preserve the second body and facilitate its journey through post-mortem states. Eastern traditions recognized it. Their practices of meditation and self-observation serve to accumulate the materials from which higher bodies can be formed. Christianity originally taught it, though the teaching has been so distorted over centuries that current believers no longer recognize what their founder actually intended. When your scriptures speak of being born again, they refer to this second birth, the crystallization of the astral body. When they promise eternal life to those who follow the path, they mean immortality is possible for those who do the necessary work, which is entirely different from automatic salvation granted through belief alone. You ask, what must I do? How can I begin this work of building immortal bodies? The answer is simultaneously simple and extraordinarily difficult. You must wake up. You must become conscious. You must remember yourself. Every time you catch yourself lost in mechanical thinking, you have an opportunity. Every time you notice you have forgotten yourself, you create a moment where transformation can occur. Every time you manage to hold divided attention, aware simultaneously of yourself and what you are perceiving, you produce a small quantity of refined substance that can be stored and later used. These moments are rare in ordinary life. Most people go days, weeks, entire years without a single moment of genuine self-consciousness. Their entire existence passes in waking sleep, thoughts flowing mechanically, emotions arising automatically, actions proceeding from habit rather than conscious choice. They are machines responding to stimuli, and machines have no immortality because they possess no being independent of their mechanical functioning. The method I teach involves placing yourself in conditions that make self-remembering more possible. You undertake physical labor that requires attention. This brings you into your body. into the present moment. When you observe your mechanical reactions without judgment, this creates separation from automatism. You expose yourself to conscious shocks that disrupt habitual patterns. This creates opportunities for something new to emerge. You work with others in groups because individual effort alone is insufficient. The presence of other conscious beings creates an atmosphere, a field of attention that supports your own efforts at self-remembering. You study ideas that challenge your assumptions because intellectual understanding, while not sufficient for transformation, is nevertheless necessary. You practice what I call sacred dances or movements because these exercises require divided attention. You must be aware of your body's movements while simultaneously aware of yourself as the one moving. All of these methods serve one purpose, helping you produce, accumulate, and eventually crystallize the materials from which higher bodies can be formed. This is not symbolic language. I am describing actual chemical processes, real transformations occurring within your organism when consciousness participates in life rather than remaining asleep to it. What I am telling you is uncomfortable precisely because it places responsibility entirely on you. Your culture prefers teachings that promise salvation through faith alone, through divine grace that requires no effort on your part. I am telling you the opposite. No one will save you. No external force guarantees your continuation after death. You must build your own immortality through conscious work sustained over years, perhaps over your entire lifetime. Many who hear this teaching respond with despair or disbelief. How can this be just? They ask. How can God create beings who face oblivion unless they accomplish such difficult work? These questions reveal a misunderstanding. Justice and injustice are human concepts. The universe operates according to laws that care nothing for your opinions about fairness. Water freezes at a certain temperature. Seeds germinate under specific conditions. Higher bodies crystallize when consciousness saturates the organism sufficiently. These are facts, not moral judgments. Furthermore, the possibility exists. That itself is remarkable. You are not animals who can only follow instincts. You are three-brained beings capable of conscious development, capable of transforming yourselves into something that can survive physical death. The tragedy is that most people waste this possibility, spending their lives pursuing shadows, accumulating things that cannot be kept, and believing in comfortable illusions about guaranteed immortality. The choice is yours. Every moment offers an opportunity to remember yourself or remain asleep. Every day provides situations where you can work consciously or respond mechanically. The materials for building higher bodies are available in the food you eat, the air you breathe, the impressions you receive if you learn to participate consciously in their transformation. Death will reveal whether your life produced anything beyond physical survival, whether the factory of your being manufactured materials that can continue existing after the machinery shuts down, or whether you spent decades consuming vast quantities of fuel while producing nothing of lasting value, leaving behind only a corpse to feed the earth.